We continue now at the top of Daf Amud Aleph Meseches Bava Metzia. This is Bava Metzia Daf 20a. On the previous summit, the Gemara was discussing a case where a person finds a shover, which is a receipt, and the receipt says that the husband paid to the wife the ksuba that he owed the wife. And if the wife admits to that fact, so then the halach is the person who finds the shover does return that shover to the husband. And so the Gemara asked, why do we return the shover to the husband in that case? Isn't there a possibility that the shover was actually written in Nisan, but the ksuba wasn't actually paid off until Tishrei, and so therefore the date in the shover is wrong? And what can then happen is that the husband has a shover that essentially has an earlier date, which allows him to collect from the lakuchos, and that will be unjust. And so the Gemara says, Rava says, Shmami, no, we see from the fact that we are not concerned with the fact that the date on the shover might be earlier than the actual payment of the ksuba. We see from this that Isa lid Shmuel. We see from this that what Shmuel said is correct. We hold of what Shmuel said. The Omar Shmuel, because Shmuel says, Hamocher shtar chov lechavero. If somebody sells a shtar chov to his friend, what that means to say is somebody is a creditor, let's say, he's owed money, he has a shtar that says that he's owed the money, and he sells that shtar chov to somebody else. Now that other person is able to collect the debt instead of him. So if he sells that shtar chov to his friend, v'chazer machlo, but then he goes ahead and he is mochel the debt, meaning the original creditor, even though he sold the document, he sold the shtar chov, but he forgave the debt, the halach is machel, it is considered to be forgiven. V'afilu yoresh mochel, and even a yoresh, even the heir is able to be mochel, meaning the heir of the creditor is able to be mochel the debt, and that would essentially be the same thing over here, as Rashi here explains. Shema, we see from this, from the fact that we are not concerned that the date on the shover might actually be earlier than when the ksuba was paid off. You see from this that even if that was the case, even if the shover really does have an earlier date, but really the husband is entitled to take away that property from the lekuchos anyhow, even though he really only paid off the ksuba later on. And why is that? Because Isa lid Shmuel. Because we hold of Shmuel, again, that Shmuel said the creditor is able to be mochel the loan, even though he sold the shtar chov. The Yamar, because again, Shmuel says, Hamocher shtar chov lechaver, if somebody sells a shtar chov to his friend, v'chazer hamocher hazel mochel mochel who eitzel halova. And if the mocher goes ahead and then forgives the debt to the borrower, it is considered forgiven, and we can apply that over here as well. Hilgach, therefore, let's say this wife, she sold her ksuba, which is again a tovas hana. She's selling the potential to collect her ksuba to a lokeach, and she does that in iyar. And again, the date on the shover was actually Nisan, but it didn't actually get paid off at that point in time. That wasn't until Tishrei. So she sells the rights to her ksuba in iyar. The hainu shtar chov, that's the selling of a shtar chov. V'chazer umochalto lebal b'tishrei, and then let's say she forgives it to the husband in Tishrei, which is essentially the same thing as the husband paying off the ksuba in Tishrei. She ended up forgiving it. Machal, that's considered forgiven. V'shapir tarif balan, the husband actually is allowed to collect from the lokeach. And so therefore you see, since that's what Shmuel said, that's why we're not concerned with this scenario in this case. Therefore the shover is returned to the husband. And the Gemara continues with another answer to the question. Abaya says, Afilu teimu lesel Shmuel. We could even say that we don't hold of what Shmuel said. And so again, the question then is, why aren't we concerned about returning this shover to the husband if the date might be wrong? And the Gemara answers to that, because here what is the case? The actual shtar ksuba, she actually has possession of that shtar ksuba, so we know she didn't sell the shtar ksuba b'tovas hana, and so therefore taking away from a lokeach is not a concern. There is no lokeach. Rashi explains, the shtar ksuba is in her possession, meaning she brings it in front of us, she shows it to us. There's no concern that she might have sold it b'tovas hana, because if she sold it, she would have given that document to the lokeach. She's holding the document, so that's not a concern. And the Gemara continues, Rava Amar, and Rava says, Rava responds to Abaya, the reason why he doesn't agree with Abaya's answer, Imishum shtar ksuba, if it's because of the shtar ksuba that she shows us the ksuba, that wouldn't be good enough. Chashin and l'shtei ksubas would be afraid that there might be two ksubas, and maybe she actually did sell it to a lokeach. The Abaya Amar, but Abaya says, Chada l'shtei ksubas lo chashin. And first of all, we're not concerned that there are two ksubas. V'yod, and furthermore, shover bizmano tarif. The halacha actually is that the receipt, the husband has the ability to collect from the date of the receipt. It actually does go by the date, according to Abaya, even if the date was much earlier than when the ksuba was actually paid off, and that's Abaya l'taime, that's Abaya according to his opinion. The Amar Edav b'chasum of Zachin, because Abaya says Edav, when the witnesses sign it, it's from that point in time that he is Zocha, and so therefore the date of the signature is really all that matters according to Abaya, so there is no real concern that it was written in Nisan, but it was not paid off until Tishrei. And Rashi explains, L'shtei ksubas, again, according to Rava, there is a concern that maybe there are two ksubas, meaning Shemesh Shnei Shtari Ksuba Hayula, maybe she had two ksubas, V'yesh Lachish, and so there is a concern, Shema Masra Echad Lokeach, maybe she gave one of them to the Lokeach, to the buyer, and so really there was a situation here of a buyer, Ubo Lachzer Bavalimcho Leitzel Bal, and now she wants to retract on that sale and instead forgive the ksuba to her husband, Umoseres Lo Shover Hamukdam, and then again she's giving him a shover which is predated, L'Shtarosh Lokeach, it's got an earlier date than the star of the Lokeach, and so that really would be a concern because of this concern that there are two ksubas and there really is a Lokeach over here who might lose out. Elavade, so rather you have to say, says Rava, you have to say Isa l'de Shmuel, that we do hold of Shmuel. Umitoch shabiyada limchol shtar ksuba lebala achshav lo chashin l'shamachas v'litain benisan v'chulu. Since it's possible for her to be mochel the star even after she's already sold it, so therefore there is no concern that it was written to be given in Nisan and it wasn't given until Tishrei. Abaya says mehachalo tesai l'Shmuel. You can't bring a support for Shmuel. Number one, chada. Number one, the l'shtei ksubas lo chashin, and we don't really have a concern that there are two ksubas. Hilka chleka l'mechash l'dilma zavanta b'tovas hana. There is no concern that she sold the ksuba to somebody because we see she's presenting us the ksuba. There's no concern that there's a second ksuba. V'yonin further inami zavanta b'tovas hana. Even if she did sell a b'tovas hana, less lon l'mechash l'shem akasva l'shover b'nisan v'lo kibla tishrei. There really is no concern that she wrote the shover in Nisan, but it wasn't received until Tishrei. The inami hachiyav, because even if that happened, according to Abaya, kimot shover liyade b'Tishrei, when the shover reaches the hands of the husband in Tishrei, zochel lemafreya, but he actually acquires it retroactively, mizman chasimoso, from the time of the signature, v'lo hayem emkara shebein klum, and therefore the sale that she made in the interim is nothing. It really does belong to the husband. V'shover mizman hakasa b'torah, if the shover from the time that it's written, it's from that point in time that you collect. V'abaya l'taime, and again Abaya follows his reasoning that Eida b'chasum of zachin lo. And the Gemara continues with the Mishnah, Matzah igros shum ve'igros mazon. If a person finds documents of evaluation or documents of sustenance, shtari chalitza umiyunin, documents of chalitza or miyun, ushtari beirurin, or documents of beirurin, which will be explained in the Gemara. V'chol ma'isa bezdin, and any documents of bezdin, hareza yachzir, all of those should be returned. Matzah b'chafiso b'dluskama. Let's say a person finds, these are various kinds of containers, he finds the shtaros, either tachrich shel shtaros, either it's a roll of documents or aguda shel shtaros, or a bundle of documents. Hareza yachzer, he should return it. V'kama aguda shel shtaros, what's considered to be a bundle of shtaros? Shlosha kashurin zeh bazeh, if you have three of them tied to one another. Rav Shimon ben Gamliel says, Echad halova mishlosha. Let's say these documents, the three documents, it's one person borrowing from three separate people. So then yachzer lalova. So then you should return to the lova, because it makes sense to say that the person got these documents from the lova. This is one borrower from three different lenders. Shlosha halovin mino echad. Let's say you have three borrowers from one lender. So then yachzer lamalva. Then it makes sense to return the documents to the lender. Matzah shtar bein shtarosov. Let's say he finds a document among his documents. Ve'eno yodea mativu. He doesn't know exactly what the status is of the document. Has it been paid off or not? Yehemunach ad sheyavo Eliyahu. So he should let it rest. He should let it stay until Eliyahu Hanavi comes to clarify. Im yeshimoin symphonos. If they have with the documents, there are symphonos, which is essentially cancellation of the debts. It's considered like a shover, like a receipt. Yasa masha b'symphonos. Then he should do whatever is in the receipt, whatever is in these cancellations, and cancel the debt. And Rashi explains, Igros Shum, the first case of the Mishnah was documents of evaluation. That means Sheshamu Bezdin Nichsei Lova Lamalva Bechova. Again, these are all documents of Bezdin. And so Bezdin evaluated the property of the Lova because the Malva was going to collect the property from the Lova for the debt. If Igros Mazon, you could have documents of sustenance, which means Shekibel Olav Lozanes Basishto. Let's say somebody accepted upon himself to give Mizonos, to give sustenance to the daughter of his wife. He's marrying a woman who has a daughter, and he's going to support her. Miyunin could be a document of miyun, that means Ketana Yisoma. That's a case of a girl that's a minor, she's an orphan, means to say she doesn't have a father. Shehisiyua ima v'ached, that her mother or her brother married her off, l'daita, that was willingly yotzam imenu b'mi. And the halacha is, such a marriage is like a drabanan level marriage, and she's allowed to refuse it when she becomes an adult. Ve'ina tzricha get, she doesn't require a get. Ela omeres b'fnei shlosha, she just says in front of three people, liefshi b'ploni bali, I no longer want to be married to so and so. V'chosvin la bezin shtar, and then bezin writes for her document, Shemiana Bifneim, that she refused in front of them, Lios La Edus Shemuteris Linase. That document essentially acts as a testimony that she's allowed to marry someone else. Shtare Beirurin Begamar Mefarish. Again, the Gemara will explain what Shtare Beirurin are. Hareza Yachzer. So then it said all of these Maisa Bez, and the person returns them. Number one, you don't have to be concerned that maybe the person wrote the document but decided not to give it. Because Bezin's not going to get involved unless it's something that's certified that actually happened. And also in terms of the fact that maybe these were already paid off, maybe that should be a concern. You shouldn't return it because the person's going to collect twice. That's not a concern. When it comes to these kinds of documents, it's not really shaykh, it's not relevant to pay it off. Like we say earlier, and even according to the one who says that evaluation is something that returns, meaning maybe you can pay money to get the property back. We're talking here, for example, where you evaluated the property of the lova and the malva can seize that property. So if the malva is allowed to seize that property and the lova is not allowed to just pay money to get out of it, that's not a problem of piron. And even according to the mandamar, even according to the one who says that it could be returned if the lova decides to pay money, but still he's the one that essentially caused himself the loss. We don't consider that to be a problem, and we say that such documents could be returned. Matzah b'chafisa o bedluskama, if you find it in some kind of a container, shum shtar, any kind of shtar, o shematza tachrich shel shtaros bekrach bagod, you find a bundle of shtaros, either they're rolled together or they're in a bundle. Uvegamar mefarish my chafisa dluskama v'tachrich v'agud. The Gemara will explain exactly what these different kinds of containers are and how you're attaching the shtaros to one another. Hareze yachzer, you return it. The davar sheyesh bo siminhu. The reason why you return it is this is something that where there's a simin, there's a sign. Kid mefarish b'gemara, as explained in the Gemara, this is considered something that can be returned because it has a siman, it has a sign of who it belongs to. Sha'akli siman, the vessel that it's in, is considered a siman. K'sheyomru ha'baylim b'chli kach v'kach matzaso sam. The original owner will say, you found it in such and such a vessel. V'chein tachrich v'yaguda, also tachrich v'yaguda. Again, different kinds of ways it's bundled together. Hareze yachzer, you should return it to davar sheyesh bo siman hu k'dim mefarish b'gemara. This will be explained in the Gemara that this is considered something with a siman. Echad alova mishlosha, and then it said, let's say you have one person borrowing from three people. Im shlosha shtaros shel alova echad hein shalova mishlosha b'nei adam. You have three documents, and the case over here is you have one borrower and he's borrowing from three different people. So yachzira motzim lalova. So then you return it. The person who found it should return it to the borrower. Devadai parim. Certainly he must have paid this off, and that's why they were all together with the lova. He paid them off. Vechzirim lo, and all of the different lenders returned the documents to the lova. Umiyadu naflo, and it fell from the lova. Shemiyadu naflu, because if it fell from the lenders, mi kipsam l'makom echad. How did they all get to one place? The fact that they're all in one place indicates it's one borrower, indicates that it fell from the borrower. And if it's the other way around, vim shlosha lovim him shalovim miyadam echad. Let's say it's three borrowers from one lender. Yachzirim hamotzim l'malva. Then the person who finds them should return it to the lender. Shahadavar yadu Hashem yimenu naflu. It's obvious that it fell from him. Motzah shtar ben shtarosav ein yodei mativu. Let's say a person finds a shtar among his documents, but he doesn't know the status. He's like a third party. He's neither the lender or the borrower. Etzlo im he doesn't know, let's say, if the borrower gave it to him, or hamalver, maybe the lender gave it to him, so meaning to say, he doesn't know if it was paid off or not. If the lova gave it to him, that means it was paid. If the malva gave it to him, it means it wasn't paid. Maybe part of it was paid. Maybe it was given to him to be like a third party, but then he forgot exactly what happened. So he should keep it, don't return it to anybody, and again, wait for Eliyahu and Navi. And finally, it said in the Mishnah of Im Yeshimo and Simphon, if there's a Simphon, Rashi says, Mili Katani, these are all separate statements. Hamotzi bein shtaros of shover. What this line means is if a person finds among his documents a receipt, shenichtav alechan mishtarosav, that's written on one of his shtaros, yasem asher b'simphon, he should follow what it says in the simphon. He should follow that it's been paid off. V'hashtar b'chezkas parua, he should assume that the shtar has been paid off. V'yafal pi shehayi l'shover hazel lios munach b'yad halovin. Now, even though this shover really should not have been in his possession, it should have been in the possession of the borrower, Amrinam, but we say hamino halova, we say that the lova trusted him to hold on to this shover. V'yomer macher tanali, and he said, give it to me tomorrow. V'shachach, and he forgot. That's what we assume happened, and therefore we assume that the shtar was paid off. And the Gemara says, "My shtare beirurin." What are shtare beirurin that are mentioned in the Mishnah? And the Gemara says, "Hacha tirgamu." Here they translate it as shtare tanos. It's the documents of claims, meaning to say it's documents that outline the specific claims of the various litigants. Rabbi Yirmiyah says, "Zeh borer lo echad v'zeh borer lo echad." It refers to documents where you have one litigant chooses one judge, the other litigant chooses another judge, and it's the document detailing how they're selecting the judges for their case. And Rashi explains that Bora lo echad, one chooses one judge, Keshaborim lam dayanim, when they would choose judges, Kosvin lehen zeb bir lo esploni, they would write a document up. This person chose this judge, v'zeb bir lo esploni, and this person chose that judge. Shelo yuchlu lachzer ben. The reason they wrote that up was that they wouldn't be able to retract later on. So again, that's the second explanation of what it means shtare beirurin. And the first explanation was, as they said, hachatirgamu, here they translate as shtare tanas, it's clarification, a clarification of the various claims of the litigants. And the Gemara continues at the two dots, v'chol ma'isa bezin harei zeyachzer. Again, it said, any document of bezin is returned. And the Gemara says, ahugita d'shtakach beidina de Rav Huna, there was a get that was found in the court of Rav Huna, and it was written in the get that it's the city of Shvirei, it's in the city of Shvirei that's on the river Rachis. Amar Rav Huna, and Rav Huna said, and Rashi explains, the shtakach beidin, it was found in the court, mekuyim behenpik, and it was certified with a henpik, v'ashliach hameviu omer, mimenu nafal, and the shliach that was delivering it, he said that it fell from him, it fell from the shliach, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Chaf Amud Beis.